I was just a college student, nothing more than that, when I agreed to house sit for a family who had 4 cats. At first, it seemed like the perfect deal: a quiet house, the company of some furry friends, and a chance to focus on my studies. Little did I know that those rescue animals would soon become the center of a story far stranger than any I'd ever heard. From the first day, I noticed little things: a knocked-over picture frame here, a flicker of movement out of the corner of my eye there. You know, the kind of stuff that you might brush off if you don't want to admit something weird might be happening. But those small oddities didn't stay small for long. Each night, the atmosphere grew heavier, like the air was charged with something invisible yet undeniable. I found myself drawn into the quiet world of those cats, these pet heroes who'd survived abandonment and hardship, stray animals who carried stories of survival in their eyes. Somehow, their calm amidst the chaos was comforting, but I couldn't shake the feeling that I was stepping into a place where the ordinary rules didn't apply. The emotional pet stories I'd read or heard on documentaries suddenly felt personal, alive in this house. At times, I would catch one of the cats staring intently at a corner of the room, fur raised, as if sensing something I couldn't. Rescue animals have a way of connecting deeply to things beyond our understanding, and these 4 were no exception. It was as if they were guarding secrets, watching over me while the house whispered its strange messages. Each night, my unease grew, but so did my curiosity. I kept telling myself, it's just the house settling. It's nothing more than that. Yet, as the days passed, those nothing moments began to pile up, shadows shifting unnaturally, faint noises echoing through empty rooms. I was caught between the need to protect these heroic pets and my own growing fear. It was the start of a journey I never expected, where rescue animals and the unknown intertwined in ways that would test every ounce of courage I had. And that was just the beginning. A few days into house sitting, my boyfriend came to visit. I thought it'd be comforting to have him around, especially with all the strange things happening. But almost the minute he stepped inside, I could tell something was off. He got this intense gut feeling, you know, the kind that crawls under your skin and won't let go. "You need to leave," he said quietly but firmly, eyes scanning the rooms like he was searching for something unseen. I tried to brush it off, thinking maybe he was just tired or letting his imagination run wild. After all, these were just cats, rescue animals with their own survival stories, not ghosts. But the way he looked at me, so serious and concerned, made me pause. "This isn't just about the cats," he said. "There's something here, something wrong." It felt strange to hear him say that because I'd always thought of these emotional pet stories as uplifting, tales of hope, rescue, and second chances. Yet, here we were, caught between hope and fear in a house that refused to reveal its true nature. I wanted to stay, to prove I wasn't scared, but his warning echoed in my mind. Still, I didn't want to abandon the cats who'd already survived so much. We spent the evening trying to laugh it off, but the tension was thick. My boyfriend kept checking every corner of the house, watching the cats as if they held the key to what was happening. These heroic pets, usually so calm and brave, seemed on edge themselves. It was as if they sensed the unease, the lurking presence that we couldn't quite put our fingers on. I admired their resilience, stray animals that had been rescued, now quietly guarding me through the night. But the warning in my boyfriend's eyes told me this was bigger than any pet survival story I'd ever heard. I told myself to hold on, to stay strong for those cats and for the story I'd someday tell. But deep down, a part of me knew the night was just getting started, and whatever was waiting in the shadows wasn't going anywhere. That gut feeling? It was only the beginning of a much darker journey. That night, I was already feeling on edge when suddenly the TV flickered on by itself. No remote in sight, no one around, just the screen buzzing with static, and that eerie no-signal hum. I swear, my heart nearly jumped out of my chest. At first, I thought maybe one of the cats had knocked the plug loose, but nope, the TV had switched on all on its own. I didn't want to believe in ghosts or spooky stories, but in that moment, my logical mind felt like it was running out of options. I grabbed the plug and yanked it out faster than I ever had before, as if that simple action could cut the tension hanging thick in the air. I looked around the room, half expecting the cats to be staring at the screen, but they were nowhere near it. These rescue animals had faced real danger in their lives, harsh streets, the uncertainty of shelters, and yet here they were, calm as ever. It was almost like they understood something I didn't, something beyond the flickering light. I tried to brush off the incident with a nervous laugh, but the truth was, I couldn't stop thinking about what it meant. Was this some kind of warning? A sign that the house had secrets it wasn't ready to share? The thing is, when you care for animals who've survived so much, pet heroes whose survival stories are nothing short of miracles, you develop a sixth sense. You learn to listen, really listen, to the subtle signals they give. And that night, with the TV turning itself on and off, it felt like the house itself was trying to speak in a language only they and maybe I could hear. I wasn't sure if I wanted to understand it, but I knew one thing. This was no ordinary house-sitting gig anymore. Something wild and mysterious was stirring in the shadows. Even as I tried to settle down and get some sleep, my mind raced with questions. Why was this happening now? Was it tied to the cats, or something else lurking just out of sight? I knew that this strange, unexplainable night was just the beginning, and whatever came next would test every ounce of bravery I had left. The house wasn't done with me yet. Later that night, just when I thought I might finally catch a break, I heard it, a faint, almost baby-like crying coming from the basement. My heart sank instantly. At first, I figured it was one of the cats, maybe stuck or scared down there. Rescue animals can sometimes wander off into the strangest places, and I'd already seen these heroic pets display uncanny instincts for survival. But this sound wasn't quite right. It was too human, too fragile, and it sent chills racing down my spine. Despite my fear, I knew I had to check it out. The basement was dark and cold, a place even the cats seemed wary to explore. I called out softly to them, but there was no response. Only that persistent, eerie crying echoing off the walls. I found myself thinking about all the emotional pet stories I'd heard, where animals and humans formed unbreakable bonds through shared trials. In that moment, I realized that this house had its own story, one that maybe involved more than just rescue animals and their survival. I crept down the stairs, trying to steady my breath and quiet my racing thoughts. The crying grew louder, tugging at something deep inside me, a mix of compassion, fear, and the strange hope that maybe, just maybe, I could help whatever was making that sound. I wasn't sure if it was an animal miracle or something else entirely, but I knew I couldn't turn back now. The night was pulling me deeper into its secrets, and the cats, those steadfast, heroic pets, were right there with me, watching silently. There was a connection I couldn't explain between the strange occurrences and the cries from below. Maybe it was the house itself reaching out, or the invisible thread tying me to those stray animals who had already shown me how to survive against all odds. Whatever it was, I had no choice but to follow the sound, even if it led me into the unknown. When I reached the bottom of the stairs, I found one of the cats trapped inside a small room. She looked frightened, but thankfully unharmed. As I opened the door, that same eerie crying returned, echoing softly around me. I called out gently, thinking maybe the sound was coming from behind the walls or another hidden corner of the basement. I checked every nook and cranny, but no matter where I looked, there was nothing, no other cat, no trapped animal, nothing but silence and the fading sound of that strange, infant-like cry. It was like the house itself was playing tricks on me, or maybe it was something far beyond my understanding. I remembered the countless emotional pet stories where animals seemed to sense spirits or energies invisible to humans. Could these rescue animals have been protecting me from something I wasn't meant to see? The thought sent a shiver down my spine, but I couldn't help feeling a strange mix of awe and fear. These heroic pets had survived so much, maybe they had secrets that no one else could comprehend. Even as I tried to stay grounded, the surreal nature of the moment gnawed at me. Stray animals, pets who'd overcome unimaginable odds, often carried stories of survival and hope, but this felt different. This was raw, mysterious, and deeply unsettling. I wondered if the crying was some kind of message, a call for help from beyond, or just an echo of the house's past. Whatever it wasn't finished with me yet. I stood there, heart pounding, caught between the urge to run and the strange pull to stay and understand. The cats watched me quietly, their eyes calm but alert, as if waiting for what I'd do next. I knew the night was far from over and that what happened next would change everything. The next morning, my boyfriend dropped a bombshell on me that sent chills down my spine. He told me all 4 cats had been upstairs with him the entire time I was hearing that crying in the basement. I sat there, stunned, trying to process what he'd just said. How could that be? I was certain the sound came from one of the cats, but if they were all with him, then what exactly was making that eerie, infant-like noise down below? It was one of those moments when reality starts to blur with something else, something beyond explanation. I thought about all the pet survival stories I'd come across, the miraculous instincts of rescue animals, and how sometimes their senses seemed to pick up on things invisible to us. But this was different. It was like the house was alive in a way I couldn't understand, whispering secrets in a language I was just beginning to hear. My boyfriend's words forced me to confront the possibility that I wasn't alone in that basement crying after all. And yet, no matter how hard I searched, there was no one else down there, no stray animals, no pet heroes, just me and the lingering echo of those haunting sounds. It felt like the house was holding its breath, waiting for me to decide what to do next, testing my courage with every heartbeat. I realized then that this wasn't just about pets or rescue animals, it was something far deeper, a puzzle woven into the very walls of that house. The story I thought I was telling was changing, and with it, my understanding of what survival really meant. The next step was clear. Even if it scared me, I had to face whatever was waiting in that basement alone. Terrified and shaken, I knew I couldn't stay any longer. I packed my things and quit the house sitting gig on the spot. The experience had rattled me more than I expected. It wasn't just the strange noises or the eerie crying. It was the feeling that I'd stumbled into something beyond the usual pet adoption stories and heroic pets I'd grown familiar with. These animals had faced danger and survived, but this was different, almost like a warning etched into the walls of that old house. Later, when I confided in my sibling, I was stunned to learn they'd had paranormal experiences in the very same place. It was as if the house held a memory, a restless energy that reached out to anyone who stepped inside. Suddenly, the emotional pet stories and animal rescue tales I'd heard all my life took on a new meaning. Maybe there were layers of survival that went beyond what we see or understand, involving not just rescue animals, but something more mysterious and powerful. Thinking back, I realized how much those heroic pets had tried to protect me, their quiet presence a shield against whatever unseen force lingered there. It made me appreciate the resilience and loyalty of stray animals, and how much they can teach us about bravery, even when the odds are stacked against us. This wasn't just about animals surviving physical dangers. It was about confronting the unknown, about having the courage to face what most would run from. As I walked away from that house, I felt a strange mix of relief and curiosity. What was the story behind those cries? Was the house holding a secret, or was it a message meant for me? I knew I couldn't ignore it forever. There was more to uncover, more to learn. And somehow, the journey was far from over.